Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. Today, we're going shopping. Reminds me of that Monty Python sketch. Gone shopping? No, I've gone shopping. So, we're going to look at Ex Libris and Flamecraft, two games in which you go shopping. But first, what else have we been up to? Played several games of Numbsters. I'm still playing that kind of obsessively. That is the little button shy wallet game where you're shuffling around numbers. And I have so far managed to win with numbers 1 through 6. I need to sit down and work on getting some of those higher numbers though. But I'm getting a strategy. I mean, you can tell by the fact that I've won, and some of those numbers I've won multiple games of. So you can tell I'm kind of zeroing in on a strategy for it. So yeah, that's going really well. And of course, because now I'm winning every now and then, it's even more addictive to keep playing. We've also been playing Flamecraft and Ex Libris, which I mentioned I mentioned in a previous video, I was going to talk about in this video. We also played Arcane Bakery Clash again. That's another button shy game, little wallet game. Magical beings in a bakery, putting things in ovens and exploding ovens and gingerbread golems and syrup elementals running loose, and it's fun. It's a little two-player thing. And we've played the base game of Carcassonne, which is my husband's favorite game. Oh yes, and if you're new here, I'm Susan. My husband is Robert. We're casual weekend board gamers. Carcassonne is his favorite game. We usually play it with expansions or something, but this time we've started playing like just the base game a bit more. Because it plays faster without the expansions, and that way we can fit in a game more easily. We also got, last weekend there was a trading post day at the friendly local game store, and we bought Forbidden Desert used for $5. All the pieces are there. It was ready to go. So this past weekend we played it and we won on novice level, mind you, but still we won our first game of it. It is fun. It's got a lot of the same feel for Forbidden Desert, I feel, but the mechanics are a bit different. And you can play as various different characters. We played as the water carrier and the meteorologist because the things that are really going to get you are sun and storms in this game. So we were trying to mitigate that as much as possible. It would be really handy if we could play with, I think it's the archaeologist, if we have a third person in the game, because that person has like special digging powers and the storm keeps burying tiles in sand. You know how in Forbidden Island, the previous game in this series, the islands kept sinking underwater? Well, in this one, they keep getting buried. So I'm waving my hands around and distracting myself here on the screen. But yes, I feel fairly confident in saying that if you really like Forbidden Island, you will really like this too, because it's just got a similar feel and it is so much fun. So yeah, and by the way, Forbidden Sky, the third game in this series, and by the way, this is not an old game, and we got it for $5 used, but brand spanking new, you can usually get it for under $30. So yeah, sometimes quite cheap if you can get it on sale. So, I mean, this is family friendly. It's challenging because you can set difficulty levels on it. You can change the meters so that you can change the difficulty level. We probably won't play on novice level for later games. But the third game in this series is Forbidden Sky, and it is currently out of print. I'm hoping that it comes back into print, or that I get lucky at another trading post day. And later this year, if you are interested in this series, later this year they're coming out with Forbidden Jungle. So there will be a fourth game in this series. It will no longer be a trilogy of games. But yeah, tremendous amount of fun. If you like co-op games and if you like Forbidden Island, An interesting thing about this is that the deck does not act as a timer. Because when you get to the end of the deck, the game isn't over. You just shuffle and start over again, which means that if you got past all of the hazards that are in the deck, then you get to the end of the deck and there they are. You know, you're shuffling and starting the deck over again. So yeah, and then you've got a full complement of hazards in the deck. So, so that's kind of an interesting thing that makes this different from some other co-op games where turning over cards in the deck acts as a timer for when the game is over. This game, you lose if you die of thirst, if you get buried under, if you have there are so many sand tiles that you lay on top of the game tiles, and if you go through and they give you a lot of sand tiles, but we went through all but about that many of them. We didn't get really close to running out, but if you run out of sand tiles, meaning you're considered to be buried alive at that point and you lose the game. There may be one other way to lose. I'm not thinking of it right off the top of my head, but yeah, there's a lot of digging of sand, and you move the tiles around as the storm moves. The storm pushes the tiles and the sand and can shift, and you're searching for the parts of an airship which you build, and you're searching for clues to where the parts are, and it's a lot of fun. We enjoyed it tremendously. Other new stuff before we get into the shopping. I've mentioned before that we got this little game early in the pandemic, and we liked it a lot. I mean, it's not like the most amazing game ever made, but it's just a good little game, and we really enjoyed it, and we really enjoyed it's not a sci-fi theme, it's an actual real space exploration kind of theme. And I, quite by accident, discovered that they were running a campaign for... Oh, wait, I was holding up the expansion. This is the box for the game. Game box. Space Explorers. This is Space Explorers game box. Got it? Got it? Yeah. Okay. This, I picked up the wrong one because the boxes are exactly the same size. This is the expansion box. And I keep saying, when I speak about it, I keep saying expansions plural, because the Age of Ambition expansion, it's basically 7 mini expansions. I also got a promo pack for it. But the Age of Ambition, it's got 7 modules. And the way you play it is, in any given game in which you're playing with the expansion, you are rolling in 3 of the 7 modules, which can give the game a lot more variability and replayability, because you can change up the game from one play to the next, just depending upon which 3 modules out of the 7, what combination that you choose to play with. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I kind of like the idea that there were all these small modules that you could put into the game that would do different things and use different cards and have different mechanics to them and things like that. So that's going to be really interesting. We have not delved into it yet, but it was a GameFound campaign, and I don't usually follow GameFound, but it delivered this past week, and we were really happy about that. So anyhow, that is what else we've been playing besides going shopping. Yes, like the Monty Python sketch, gone shopping. Okay. Ex Libris. This is, quite sadly, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people, out of print. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about out-of-print games, but you have to understand that board games, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of board games released every year. And of those, only a small fraction are going to stay in print. And a lot of good games go out of print. Maybe they'll stay in print for a while because there was a big initial print run, or they'll stay in print for a while because sales were steady but slow, you know, like spread out over a long period of time. This, I am ashamed to say, we got early, like in 2020, I think, early in the pandemic, and it was not a new game then. Then it sat on our unplayed games shelf until last year, when we finally took it off the shelf and played it and loved it. I mean, really loved it. Of course, we're book people. We like books. So a game about shelving books. I mean, yeah, we just kind of had to have that. And there's kind of a Potter-esque feel to it in some ways, because it's like the magical library bookshelves. It's got all these weird and funny titles to the books. Let me see. If I can get this out here without spilling my tea. Spill the tea. The tea today is Earl Grey Creme, which is from Tea Runners. Not a paid promotion. I just really like their teas. It is one of the milder Earl Greys, but it's very, very pleasant. Get into this here. One of the things I like about it is, okay, this has kind of like fiddly scoring. And if this thing didn't have an easy way to do the fiddly scoring to make it not fiddly, that would probably detract from the game. But it's got this parchment-like score sheet. And you just go down the list and say, how many of this, how many of this, how many of this? And then in the section, you say, okay, what did I have the most of that? And I have the most of that. And then I get this many points times that. And you just add it all up. And it makes it really easy to score. Very fast and easy, which I like. These are cheat sheets from the shop. I'll put an insert up for that. We have a very big, long board. Insert here. Yes, a very big, long board. You start with one starter shop. Flamecraft has more than one starter shop. But this one, you start with one definite starter shop, and then you draw more starter shops for the first round according to how many players you have. The board is long, it folds out. You have these basic player boards like this, but the flip side is like this. So that you can play like for your first game or for perhaps a game with kids, you know, just your basic library, no special powers for each player. But then you start getting into it and there are all of these different player boards. And each one conveys upon the person certain special abilities during gameplay. And each one comes with its own specifically shaped meeple for whatever the player board is. Oh, there's a little purple lizard here. I like the little crook in his hat. Now, your regular workers, because it's a worker placement game, I never really thought about how many worker placement games I play, but I guess there are a few. Not too many, though, but these are your basic workers in player colors, a couple of different player colors. For, I think, a two-person game, you have 2 workers you place, plus if you're playing with the special meeple, this one. I think if you're playing with the basic library, then you use all 3 of the meeples. But you've got, and let's see, first player marker. Oh, yes, there's a snowman, and there's also a gelatinous cube in here, and a ghost. Ghosty. So there are cute shapes of meeples. If you like cute shapes of meeples and you like special player abilities, this has got all of those. But the main thing with this game is you're going around to shops and you're going to bring out those little shop pieces. And the shop pieces are on the bottom here. Yeah. Like the wishing well. And there are a lot of shops. And you you retire one shop and bring out more shops at the end of each round, beginning of each round. And there are a lot of different shops. And each shop has a different thing that you can get or a different way that you can use its ability. The shop has special abilities that you can use in order to get cards, because you are trying to shelve books alphabetically. This is tea. It is 6 of 10 tea. And you need to make your shelf rectangular so that it is stable, because you can only count things that are within the rectangle after a certain point. And then the icons up at the top represent types of books. And you may have more than one of any given icon. And you not only have to shelve the books alphabetically, but you need to get the numbers in. And you need to, when you put cards in, they need to be orthogonally up against other cards. And you need to have no more than 3 shelves. You need to have at least 3 rows of shelves. You need to have at least 2 rows, but you can't have more than 3. And so you've got to put them in, and you're getting cards, and you're getting like random letters of the alphabet, and you're getting like random numbers of those letters of the alphabet, and you can swap cards at some shops. You can just flat out get cards at shops. You can take actions that will allow you to draw a card off the deck. You can, like, with some special player powers, you can like get cards from other players. There's all kinds of stuff that can go on in amidst your shopping spree for books. So if you like book shopping, this is one you should keep your eye out for on the used book market. If you're on the used game market, if you like books and shelving books, and these are magical books. This is also really good for people who like puns and funny titles and stuff. Our first game went excruciatingly slow. I mean, it just took like, oh, I don't know, the better portion of the day, because we were reading the titles of all of the cards that we got, like Itchiest Itching Powders and Irregular Regulations, Counting Dragons Before They Hatch, Cosmology for Cosmetologists, Conjury to Avoid Jury Duty, Pets You Might Regret, The Penultimate Ultimatum, Pentagrams and Pickled Hams, A Focus on Hocus Pocus, Tonics for Better Phonics, Timeless Tales of Timid Snails, A Tome of Vagaries, Love Potions and Soothing Lotions, Lycanthropic Topics, Most Effective Places to Spill Spoiled Milk, The Most Boring Dreams Shared, More Like Drool Books, The Yesteryear of Your Yetis and Their Love of Spaghetti. Yes. It's just, oh yes, and one of them is the unofficial Ex Libris strategy guide. That's cute. So you're collecting books, and on your town board, there are 2 categories. Well, actually, there are 6 categories of books, and you shuffle those at the beginning of the game, and one is put as a preferred category on the board, and the other is put in the banned books category. So you are ideally trying to maximize the number of whatever color and symbol would be the preferred book for that game, while at the same time minimizing the number of icons you have, because you're counting cards, not icons, of the banned books. Although sometimes getting one that has a banned book will actually give you more points because of the other icons that it has on it. Now, besides the preferred books that are on the board, after you've dealt those out, there are still 4 cards left, and those are dealt to the players, and those become the player's preferred category, your specialty. And so you are also trying to get the most of the preferred books on the board, because you score for most, second most, and maybe third. But for your preferred specialty, you just flat out score for all of those icons that you get in your preferred specialty. And you can figure out what people's preferred specialties are after a certain point in the game. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. You're trying to avoid the banned books. You are collecting the tomes that are the preferred tomes on the board. Each player is collecting their preferred category. At the same time, you are alphabetizing the books and putting them in numerical order. But when you lay things out, you have to use like a special shop ability or something like that if you want to move those cards around, because once you lay them down, you've laid them down. They're in their row, they're in their shelf. You can't just say, oh, I've got a 3, let me just scoot this over and put it in there. It's like if you've got a 3B and there's, you know, and you've already closed and you've already got cards there, you've got the 1B and the 4B, you can't just move them and put it in there unless you are using like a special shop ability, which you might not always have. And there's also, I think, one player board that has the ability to shift a shelf like one space one way. But, and there may be one, I think there is one shop where you can like shift some over and fill a gap. And I know there's one where you can take a card out of your hand and swap it with one in your library. But you see, you can't count on that. You really can't, because those are like really special circumstances that are just not going to be something that you can do anytime, or perhaps even ever, depending upon how the game is going. So anyhow, that is kind of a little brief overview of Ex Libris. I'm sure you can find more about it. And I'm going to just put up here that insert that shows you, these are the cheat sheets that show you what, they're double-sided, and there's enough for all the players, that show you what all the different shop abilities are, because you've got shops strung out all up and down the board by the end of the game and all over the board by the end of the game. And that gives you some idea of some of the things that you can do with shops. And like I said, if you're not playing with the plain side of the board, then the player boards also have abilities. So yes, shopping. Shopping for books. Now with Flamecraft, you got little dragons. I do not have the Kickstarter version. I have the retail version, which I feel perfectly happy with, actually. I do think that the little dragon thingies that came with the Kickstarter thing are very cute, the little dragon minis. But I'm happy with the dragon meeples. I think the dragon meeples are also cute. Flamecraft. Now, Ex Libris has a fold-out board, and it's long. Flamecraft comes with a neoprene mat, and it is even longer than the Ex Libris board, I think. I could be wrong about that. I did not measure them side by side, but I think that this neoprene mat may be even longer than that. But once again, you have this central shopping area, and you lay down shop cards, and each shop has a special ability, and you send your dragons, in this case, to the artisan shops, because they are artisan dragons. Wow, it's going to take me forever to roll this up. I'm just lucky I didn't end up knocking it into my tea. Let me see here. Shops. You have starter shops. And there are 6 starter shops, and they each come with a starter dragon, so that when you go to them, you automatically will get more stuff because there's already a dragon on them. And like in Ex Libris, you get different stuff depending upon what you go to the shop. Now, in Ex Libris, you're trying to collect books. And the shops have special abilities that help you do this. In this, you're trying to collect goods, resources like bread and meat, coins, fancy dragons, points, yes, points, reputation points, and potions and diamonds and things like that. There are some wild card shops and some wild card rewards. On shops, the grayed out things or the things that you need to have a dragon that's got one of those symbols to place it in the slot. Put the dragon meeple here, and then you have the option of placing a dragon here and getting whatever the colored reward is. This means you get a fancy dragon. And the fancy dragons are like secret objectives you're trying to fulfill. Some can be fulfilled anytime during your turn. Those are sun dragons. Moon dragons are things that you cash in at the end of the game, assuming that you've gotten them. Let me show you what the dragon meeples look like, since the dragon minis have just gotten so much love. Let me show some love for the little dragon meeples. Yes, little dragon meeples. I think they're really cute. They look really happy too, you know? So you're going around to the shops, you're collecting resources. And the point of collecting these resources is to do enchantments. And there are two different enchantment decks. One, the enchantments are a little bit easier to get than the others. That would be the purple enchantment deck. So for your first game, you might want to do that. Or if you're playing with people who haven't played the game before, or maybe kids, you're trying to collect like sets, one of everything for 6 reputation there. Here you're trying to collect sets of 2 of those, and the number of sets you get determines how many reputation points or victory points you get. And like I say, the gold ones, you can substitute a coin, and mind you, coins represent points at the end of the game, so think about that. You can substitute a coin for a good in any case, but in the advanced deck, there are certain ones that won't allow you to do that. We didn't actually do that too much because we were hanging on to our money. And see, the advanced deck also has, you need more of stuff. That's one of the things I've noticed. There's also companions that you can play with that have a one-time use special ability. So that's kind of nice that we did not play with those this first couple of games. We were still just getting the feel of the game, and we had a lot of fun playing this. This game, it's like, this is one of those games, it's like you finish playing, you go like, oh yeah, I like this. These are your beginner dragons. And the starter dragons go on the corresponding starter shop. See, up here there's a symbol, and that tells you what shop they go on. This is a table hog. I mean, it just goes all the way down the dining room table, and you've got shops everywhere. I mean, it's got a lot of slots for shops. And you're going to be reaching over people and asking people to hand you goods whenever you're going to shops and getting goods. But the whole idea is you go to shops, you get goods. Some shops, these shops that are not starter shops, have special abilities. Like draw 2 fancy dragons, keep 1, and give 1 to another player for 4 reputation. But you don't have to use those. The one thing you have to do is you have to go to a shop, and when you go to a shop, you either gain goods or you do an enchantment. Then optionally, after that, after either gaining the goods from the dragons at the shop or the shop's basic good, and some are wild, so you can just name your price sort of thing. After doing that, then you can optionally place a dragon there if you've got one that matches the symbol for the slot and there are slots open, and get whatever reward that is. And you can optionally fire up one of the dragons at the shops. Each dragon has like a little flame down here at the bottom, and that's their fire up ability. If I fired up this dragon, it would allow me to draw another dragon. Some of them, this one allows you to swap it with another dragon in the town and then fire that dragon up. This allows you to place any dragon in town. You can gift a good to another player to gain 2 rep. And we did that a few times. Goods that we didn't want and we didn't think that a particular opponent would want either. We played it 2-player, but I think this would play really well with lots of people. I think it would be a lot of fun with lots of people, but it does play really well with 2-player. It is very enjoyable at 2. So yeah, there are, and you can fire up a dragon and use that ability, get more stuff. And then if you're on a shop that has a special shop ability, and some of them are quite complex and some of them are quite juicy. I went to one and I got like 5 rep off of the special ability. So it's like, points, points, glorious points. But yes, there's, where are my fancy dragons? Oh, the fancy dragons are in the other bag with the companions. I'll show you what the fancy dragons look like. The fancy dragons, there are a number of these for various different goods. Ones that say you get 2 rep if you have 3 bread, plus 3 if you have the most bread. And I got the one for meat in 2 different games, and Robert got the one for bread and something else. Those are fairly common for fancy dragons, and that is a moon dragon. So that would be at the end of game scoring, which is really simple, far simpler than Ex Libris. I mean, at the end of the game, you've got the points that you've been getting during the game on the reputation track, and then you throw your coins into the fountain and move the reputation track up, one for every coin. Then you score your fancy dragons that are moon dragons that have end of game scoring. But the other fancy dragons, you can get, like this one, you can pay 5 leaves to gain 3 rep and 2 coins. Which, considering coins, translates to reputation at the end of the game. That's basically 5. And this being a sun dragon, you can get this, you can cash this dragon in at any time that you have got 5 that you can pay back into the general supply. So, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that you can do, but it's not super complicated. It's like if you hear somebody saying, okay, you can do this, and then you can do this, and you go here, and you do that, and you're going like, oh, wow, that sounds really complicated, and there's sure a lot going on in this game. But then you sit down at the table and you actually play it, and it's going like, oh yeah, you just do this, this, and this, and then you do this, this, and this, and it's like, it's really simple and obvious. So it's like, this is, I would say this is probably a family weight game. It might be slightly difficult for younger kiddies to get the hang of some of these special power thingies. But maybe not. Oh, wait, I've got an escaped fancy dragon here. Hang on. Can't have any dragons on the loose. But it's a lot of fun. The artwork is charming. And you know how I talked about the pun thing with Ex Libris and the kind of funny title thingies? Well, they've got like the same thing going on with the shops here. You have the Sage of Sage. You have the Full Plate Buffet, the Drake of Cakes. And, of course, the seamstress is So Cute. Eternal Flame. And you just have to have a bazaar, don't you? There's a wishing well. In both games have a wishing well. No big surprise there. That just kind of seems like a natural for games that have like magical stuff going on and you're shopping. And the pub here in Flamecraft is called Flagons and Dragons. Oh, and there's Spellfire Springs, which is a spa kind of thing. We have Draconic Tonic. Hedges and Hinges. Oh my gourd. Oh, here's one called Saving Throw, which is a pottery barn. See, it's throwing pots. The Savage Beat. Fogo de Char. Oh, yes, and you can play this solo. There are solo rules. And here are the player aids. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Lots of colors for the player aids. There's a Pizza Coven. Touch O' Glass. Guilty Treasures. But yeah, they have those cute kind of names. And they've got really, really good artwork. And you know we are a sucker for good artwork. But yeah, this was a huge amount of fun. It was one of those games, it's like you finish playing it and you just say, okay, well, we can't play it again right away, but just leave it set up. Because it's like basically the minute that we have time to play again, we're going to sit down and we're going to play it again. So yeah, I'm just going to have to roll this back up again, and it's just not rolling up right. It's like I've got to get it back into the box now. So that is shopping with dragons and magicians and creatures and things. Dragons and Flamecrafts and all kinds of things at Ex Libris. In Flamecraft, you are shopping for various goods. In Ex Libris, it's all about books. Ex Libris, Flamecraft, unlike Ex Libris, has no putting things in alphabetical or numerical order. I actually think that that might not be a bad thing for kids, you know, alphabets and numbers. But Flamecraft is a fun game. Ex Libris is a fun game, and I am heartbroken that it is out of print. That just does not seem right to me because it is a great little game. And the reason why I covered these two next to each other is when I first saw Flamecraft laid out on a video and somebody was like, okay, you got the central board and the shops and all this kind of stuff, I looked at that and I thought, oh my God, it's Ex Libris. And I had thought, do I really want to get Flamecraft? Because, I mean, it was one of those maybes. do I really want to get another game that's basically just plays exactly like a game I've already got and looks like it and everything? So I thought, But then when I actually saw how it played, it doesn't play anything like Ex Libris. The one thing that they have in common, it's just superficial. They've got this large central town area, and then you lay out these shop cards around it, and you send your little workers to the shops. But what they do at the shops and the goals of the game and how you get your points is vastly different. Like no comparison, no overlap at all. So you could easily have both of these games, and literally the only thing that they have in common is there's kind of a vaguely magical theme going on, but also central square, shops, special stuff at each shops and abilities, and you send your workers there. But from that point on, what happens in the game and how you play it and how you win it and what you're actually trying to accomplish, completely, utterly different. Which was nice. It means I've got 2 great games about shopping. I'm not really a born to shop person, but still, a lot of people are. And there's just something very, very pleasant. It's actually more pleasant playing a game about going around to shops and getting stuff than it is actually going around to shops and getting stuff. Anyhow, it's been nice just sitting around the table and talking to you, and I'm hoping that this video came out okay because I got a weird warning flashing on top of my screen. And I have lost my little clicker that I used to turn it off. Anyhow, it's been fun. Hello to all of my new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sticking to the end of the video to get the hello and thank you. And I will see you all next time around the table where we are going to continue having a lot of fun. Bye.